Have you ever stopped to think that the most valuable thing growing in your garden isn't the tomatoes, the beans, or the peppers? It's the seeds. Growing isn't about growing food. It's about growing security. Security that feeds your family. And real security comes from sustainability. So let's go. Every seed you save is one less seed you have to buy. And more importantly, it is one more step towards becoming self-sufficient for a lifetime. If you've ever wondered how to save heirloom seeds, how to store the seeds long term, or how to build an emergency seed bank for your homestead or garden, then this video will walk you through the entire process. From choosing the right plants to harvest, cleaning, drying, storing, and rotating your seed supply so you can grow food year after year. Let's begin with the most important decision you'll make, choosing the right plants. Not every seed should be saved. For dependable results, you need to save seeds from heirloom or other open-pollinated varieties. An heirloom variety is an open-pollinated plant that has been grown and passed from gardener to gardener for generations, usually at least 50 years. Because these plants are naturally pollinated, the seeds they produce grow into plants that closely match the parent plant. If you save seeds from a Cherokee purple tomato, a blue lake bean, or a black beauty zucchini, you'll grow those same varieties again next season, provided they weren't cross-pollinated with other compatible varieties in your garden. Now let's compare that with the F1 hybrid seeds, because there's often confusion about what they are. An F1 hybrid is the first generation offspring of two carefully selected parent plants. Plant breeders intentionally cross those parents to combine desirable traits like disease resistance, productivity, uniform size, and early harvests. F1 hybrids are excellent garden performers, and occasionally I do grow a few myself. However, the seeds they produce are generally unstable. When you save seeds from an F1 hybrid, the next generation, called the F2 generation, can produce plants with widely different characteristics. You may lose the flavor, the size, disease resistance, or the productivity that made the original hybrid so desirable. That's why heirloom and open-pollinated varieties are the foundation of long-term seed saving and food security. Once you've chosen the right variety for you, you need to choose the right plant to save seeds from. Don't save seeds from just any tomato or bean plant in your garden. Select the healthiest plants with the best flavor, the highest production, the strongest disease resistance, and the ability to thrive under your local growing conditions. And when it comes to some vegetables and fruit, I also look for the one that is the largest, especially when it comes to big winter squash, pumpkins, or melons. I look for the largest fruit that develops the best in my environment. Each year you save seed from your best plants, you're gradually adapting those genetics into your own garden. Over time, your seed stock becomes uniquely suited to your soil, your climate, and your growing conditions. And the produce carries the traits that you most look for in your harvest. Next, you should know that timing is critical. One of the biggest mistakes beginning seed savers make is harvesting seeds before they're fully mature. Seeds must complete their development before they're capable of producing vigorous new plants. Tomatoes should be fully ripe, often even softer than you would normally eat them. Peppers should reach their mature color, whether that's red, yellow, orange, or chocolate, depending on the variety. Cucumbers grown for seed should become very large and their skin should be yellow and tough. Summer squash should remain on the vine until their skin becomes hard. Beans and peas, well, they should dry completely on the plant until the pods become brittle and the seeds rattle around inside of the pod. Lettuce should flower, produce fluffy seed heads, and begin drying naturally before you harvest them. The healthier and more mature the seeds are, the better it will store and germinate for you when you try to grow them out again. Once your seeds are mature, it's time to process them. There are two primary methods of seed processing: dry processing and wet processing. I try to produce everything through the dry processing method that I possibly can, because adding extra water increases the chance of them getting moldy and then being trash. Dry processing is used for crops like beans, peas, lettuce, spinach, basil, dill, marigolds, calendula, zinnias, many herbs and flowers, and a good many vegetables too. Allow the pods or seed heads to dry completely on the plant whenever possible. If it's something with very tiny seeds like carrots or fennel, once they start to go to seed and develop the seed pods after the blooming and pollination stage, you can cover them with something like a mesh bag to prevent them from losing all their seeds. Once they're dry, place them in a clean container or paper bag and gently crush or rub them between your hands to release the seeds. Now comes the cleaning part. Separate the seeds from the chaff, the dried leaves, stems, husks, flower parts, and other plant debris. This process is called winnowing, and it can be done by gently pouring the seeds from one container to another in front of a light fan or natural breeze. You might have to do it several times, but take your time and keep the breeze or the fan low. The heavier seeds will fall into your container while the lighter chaff blows away, and you just keep doing it till most of it is gone. Clean seeds store longer, and they are less likely to develop mold, and it's easier to plant in the following season. Wet processing is used for tomatoes, and in some cases cucumbers, and also in winter squash seeds like you see me doing here in the video. Tomato, squash, and cucumber seeds are surrounded by a gelatinous coating that naturally prevents immediate germination. To remove it, place the seeds and the pulp into a small glass jar with a little bit of water and allow them to ferment at room temperature for 2 to 4 days. A layer of mold will form on the surface, and that's completely normal. After fermentation, add clean water and stir thoroughly. The healthy, viable seeds will sink to the bottom, while pulp, mold, and immature seeds will float to the top. Pour off the floating material, rinse the good seeds several times, and spread them on a glass plate, coffee filter, or fine screen to dry. Avoid paper towels, as tomato seeds often stick to them, but if that does happen, it's really no big worry. You can still plant the seeds as long as they were kept dry throughout their storage. The paper towel will simply break down in the soil over time. Regardless of which method you use, proper drying is the single most important step in successful seed saving. Spread the seeds in a single layer in a warm, shaded location with good air circulation. Avoid direct sunlight because that can damage the viability of your seeds. Depending on the crop, drying may take anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. Seeds should be hard, brittle, and completely dry before they are packaged. Even a small amount of trapped moisture can lead to mold and ruin an entire harvest of carefully saved seed. Store your seeds in labeled paper envelopes inside airtight glass jars or moisture-proof containers. Always include the variety name, harvest year, and any notes you'd like to remember, such as exceptional flavor or disease resistant. Keep your seeds in a cool, dark, dry location. For long-term storage, many gardeners use a refrigerator, and for even longer storage, Thoroughly dried seeds can be vacuum sealed and placed in a freezer. Cold temperatures can dramatically slow the natural aging process and help preserve the seed viability for many, many years. As your collection grows, organize it like a pantry. Group seeds by crop, keeping an inventory, and rotate your supplies. Each growing season, plant some of your oldest seeds first and replace them with freshly harvested seed from your newest crop. This simple rotation system keeps your emergency seed bank healthy, current, and ready whenever you need it. And don't plant all of any of your seeds. Always hold back a few. On the off chance that your crop fails, you'll at least still have some emergency backup seeds. If you haven't already watched my video on building and maintaining your own emergency seed bank, I highly recommend it. Together, these two skills, saving seeds and storing them properly, create a practical system for protecting your family's future food supply. I'll link that video on the end screen and in the description below. If this video helped you understand how to save heirloom seeds, I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who wants to also become more self-sufficient. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What heirloom varieties are you planning to save seeds from this year? And if you already save seeds, tell us a little bit more about your system and how you store your seeds. And if you're passionate about gardening, food preservation, and practical homesteading skills, be sure to subscribe to the Handmade Homestead and Garden and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy gardening and take care.